What's poppin', my Freeform Renegades? You are tuned into the Freeform Network. Thanks for joining us for another fun episode of Freeform Radio. I am your host, Noel, with my co host, as always, Daniel.
Yes, sir. Just got in, had a little technical problem, but mics are working, headphones are working, so we're gonna get this one in.
Definitely, we might need an IT guy in the future, but good
Yeah.
to hear. And we got Andy here.
It's all good, Andy. Ready to. This is the day of the recording, Super Bowl Sunday. So I was making try to make some money today, but my Squares guy backed out last minute. So now I'm gonna be just watching the game with no money riding on it, which is kind of boring. But well, you'll hear about it all in the future how it went down.
Most definitely, man. It's a little disappointing, but one thing that's not disappointing is the beautiful weather we have here in Chicago. It is 45 degrees and sunny today on a Sunday in a February midwinter day. But wherever you listeners are, we hope you're relaxed and feeling good. And we're just going to dive right into this one. So, Daniel, looks like you went to a rodeo recently. I don't think I've ever been to a rodeo, but I've seen like kind of what the gist of it is. Fill us in, man. How was your experience?
Yeah, so you know, the wifey and me have been getting a lot into westerns and Yellowstone and stuff like that. So it's gotten us really into the mood. And I think it was last year or maybe the year before we actually went out, bought cowboy hats, we got boots, and we got the whole nines going. And we've had to use it on. We've had the chance to use it on a few occasions, but we've been wanting to wear them for like a rodeo, like go like horseback riding or rodeo kind of thing. And we finally had a chance somewhere local. There's not many rodeos to pick from. So to be honest, whenever they do pop up, it's a good trek. We live up in Lake County now, so it, you know to find something in Cook County, for example, I mean that's a good drive for us. To find something even further downstate Illinois, it's a good drive for us. So um, it's been difficult, but we lucked out and got something really close to the house. It was about 20 minutes away, and we went. It was the first U.S. rodeo that I've ever been to. I've been to one or two in Mexico when I was younger, and those were pretty cool. It's a big spectacle in Mexico, at least. A lot of music, guys drinking, women dressed up in the traditional Mexican garb, and it's a whole event. It was the American version of it, which was also a big spectacle. It was a lot bigger than I was anticipating. Um, Now, Noel, you mentioned that you've never been to anything. Have you been to anything like that, Andy?
Yeah, I've been into more of the Mexican ones.
Okay.
I've never been. I mean, I seen the PBR ones like when
Right.
I had cable. I mean, what they had. Some of the dudes had helmets and like bulletproof vest stuff. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, you don't see that in the Mexican rodeos. You seen some dudes get like fucked up on the bulls and even the horses. So
For
it's a
sure.
different. It's a definitely a different experience from what I seen and compared to the Mexican ones.
Yeah, yeah. Like Andy mentioned, in the U.S. one, there's a lot more safety. They can't do certain things to bulls like they would in other countries. But yeah, for the most part, they do wear like a safety helmet, a black safety helmet, and then they got those vests to kind of help them so they won't get gored by the bull's horns and stuff. But as far as the spectacle that I was describing, it was that, man. When we got there, there was so many people. Now, I was at the same event that we went to for the basketball game that I mentioned a few podcasts ago that I took Junior. It was at that same arena. It's called the Now Arena. I think it was previously called the Sears Arena, and it was packed, man. Every seat seemed like it was sold out. When we were driving up for parking, there was a sign that said sold out event. So I believe every seat was sold, and it looked like it, man. Every seat was full. Unlike the Bulls game that we went to there, it was maybe about half 3/4 of the way full, but you did see empty pockets.
And what Danny means by the Bulls game, you mean they're like minor league team or the D League? I think it's what's at the Now Arena, if I
Right, like
remember correctly.
right. Yeah, from the podcast that I mentioned, it was the Windy City Bulls,
Yeah.
which is like Andy mentioned, it's like the minor leagues of the Bulls. There were some Bulls players there sitting courtside, but they were not playing. But yeah, the arena is kind of small, maybe a tad smaller than Allstate Arena, but it was packed, man. And I was surprised about how many Latinos there were there. Since it was an American style rodeo, I figured, mostly, white people are going to be there. But no, man, I would say maybe 2/3 were Latino, a third was, Caucasian or whatever. And everybody seemed to be having a good time. There was a lot of liquor. I was surprised how much these people drink during these events. Uh, to be honest, it's not that I'm a prude and I don't drink, but with pricing the way it is for everything now, it's just like I'm not paying $12-14 for a beer. I bought one just to kind of get the taste and just kind of chill, and I just milked that one the whole event. But
Liquor sees no color, Dan.
well, yeah, I'm not speaking as far as white and Latino. I'm just speaking as far as money. I would think certain things will eventually start becoming a luxury, and maybe the consumption of alcohol would be in that category because $15 a beer, that's a lot, man. I mean,
Is it a
for
tall
how
boy?
I don't know. I just got like Modelo, and
Mm-hmm.
it didn't seem like the tall glass. It seemed like the regular, like beer can
Like 12
size.
ounce?
I mean, they pour it all into like those solo cups, so it's
Yeah.
hard to tell what it is. But there was people buying them by the dozen, man. They would buy like 6 or 7 at a
The,
time and walk them over to their seats.
well, that's what I'm saying. The last time I remember we went to an event, it was that Bellator thing at Rosemont, and they
Right.
were serving the beers. I think were like $14 or $12, but those were the 16 ounces. They weren't the regular 12, which kind of shocked me because I had a lot of them. But I don't think you see 12-ounce beers no more. I think they're like, if we give them a bigger can, we could charge more. That's, I feel like, the stadium's philosophy. And
Right. Right.
that's why I'm asking if it's Modelo. I think they have tall boys. I don't know.
I
But
would I would assume in some of the stations they might have like the taller beers like you're describing. But maybe what they ended up doing is just like, all right, so instead of charging $20, let's say for a tall boy, let's charge what we charge for the tall boys, but for the regular ones.
yeah.
Because that's what it seemed like. Because at least the one that I bought, it was just like a regular solo cup size that you buy like at Walmart, those red cups. And that's about as tall as the beer was. But yeah, man, I guess for me, my lifestyle's changed a little bit because I'm not a big spender to begin with, but I don't buy all these expensive things. And to me, beer is good. I'm not a connoisseur of a beer, but I do enjoy a beer here and there. But definitely for events like this, it does get trimmed back. When I go to restaurants, it does get trimmed back. Where I'm having a social event with like friends and buddies, yeah, I'll drink a few more because we bought 6 packs or a 24 pack that made the price a little bit more reasonable, kind of thing. But it amazed me that so many people were drinking, and I'm like, buying those 6 beers there, that's a good $100 you just spent there or more. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, the people, are cool with spending $100 in a round of beers. Cool, man. That's on you. But anyways, beside the beer thing, everybody seemed to be having a good time. I didn't really see any kind of troubles or problems between people. And the next thing that did shock me is I've seen a couple of the PBRs, like Andy mentioned, on TV, but I've never seen like a full event. I'll like be flipping through the channels. It'll be on. I'll watch it for a few minutes, or I'll have it on the background while I'm doing something else. But being at an actual event from start to end, it was it kind of took me back, which I thought it was cool. But they had a prayer at the start of the event. So as soon as they're like, "All right," the announcer's like, "We're going to be starting in 5 minutes." Um, this is America, and in America, we respect everybody's decisions and everybody's perspectives in their own philosophy. But here, he's like, we believe in Christ, and we're going to have a prayer. And then they just started off with a prayer. And after the prayer, they did the typical Star Spangled Banner, and then the show started. So I thought it was really cool to see a company that expresses their faith in that way up front without worrying about the recourse of people backlashing and being like, well, we're not that. We need you to be more inclusive to everybody else, kind of thing. But it was really cool, and I did enjoy that part of it.
Well, that's a company or a corporation that knows their base. They probably have some data and like traditionally that base, they're farmers or whatever, rural
Right.
people, and they have more different values than people say in the city, in the big city. So they know their base. Kind of like in NASCAR, they have a prayer too before most of the races.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they have a chaplain. It's usually not like a priest or a pastor. I kind of recall when I was watching NASCAR, they usually had like a chaplain or something.
All right.
So that means like it's a lot of different faiths, but yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, good for them. The only question I have: did that person who led the prayer, did he have a a beer in his hand when he led the prayer?
I didn't see him. I don't know where
Or
he
did he set it
was.
down?
I don't know where he was stationed or where he was by. But yeah, he started off with the prayer, and it was kind of cool to see something like that. And I think you're right. When I spoke to my wife about it, it was kind of like the same thing. It's just like, yeah, it's probably more of what we would see as a conservative crowd. If you had to label some kind of political label on it. But definitely, I mean, the Latino base is not known for being super conservative. So, in that, there are, I'm sure, a lot of liberal people in that crowd. But anyways, it didn't seem to like, gather any booze or stuff like that. Everybody was really cool. The show started, man, and they had like music up the ass. Everything was music, but not any Latino music, which I thought was kind of weird. To Andy's comment of knowing your base, I would think you would pepper in a couple Latino songs in there, just because they had rock, they had hip hop, they had country music, and I was just waiting for that, one or two Latin songs, but no, they didn't play any of that stuff. So,
Like,
uh,
you wanted them to play like Ricky Martin or something?
not Ricky Martin, but something more, like a tamborazo. Even though I don't jive with that, I don't really like tamborazos and stuff. But I know that rodeos are linked to that style of Mexican music, so I figured that one or two songs would be to that, or maybe a mariachis or something like that, something with a little
Yeah.
Latino flavor. But yeah, they didn't play any of it, which I'm cool. I mean, to me, it didn't bother me at all. There was definitely plenty of country and plenty of good hip hop. It was kind of like the classical hip hop, not classical, classic hip hop.
Throwbacks.
Yeah, yeah. And then the tried and true rock ones, AC/DC, some Metallica and stuff like that. So it was a good time, man, as far as the whole ambiance and everything. And then the show started, and it was really excited. Like the first half, towards the end, it kind of waned down because there's a lot of waiting in between getting the bull riders situated, and then it did drag on a little bit. I'm not really sure what the solution is. Me being a noob to this, I it's not like I came in and I was just like, they need to do this and this will make it 10 times better. I really don't know what they can do, but it would have been better if the show was a little faster as far as the dead time in between. Now, maybe the dead time is great for people to go to the bathroom or kind of situate whatever's going on. It's kind of like a baseball game in between innings kind of thing. But to me, it's like too many. It's more than, the 9 innings in a baseball game. I mean, this was like maybe like 30 little intermissions while they're getting things
Really?
situated.
How long did the intermissions last?
I wouldn't call them intermissions. I would maybe like 30 seconds and a minute.
Then like 2 to 3 minutes per thing or something.
Well, some of them did drag on. So some of them, the next bull rider, the guy would be like, "I got it, let it open, boom," and they'll fly out. And some guys would rearrange. No, they would call for another tie up, so they would have to retie the bull up, and then in between these little spots, they would have the clowns doing shit. Start twerking or dancing or doing twirls and shit. Or he'd take out the t-shirt machine, and then he'd start shooting t-shirts into the crowd. So they would try to keep people engaged for the most part, but you weren't watching bull riding. So if you wanted to watch bull riding, there was some dead air in between. But I don't want to make it seem too much of a negative. It was just something that I was just like, man, it'd be nice if they found a way to make this quicker. Maybe like line up like 4 bull riders at the same time and be like, everybody be on call so that when we point to you, you come out of the chute, and then just keep it rotating so that they always have somebody like ready. But it was cool, man. It was really cool. Junior went with us, and I was a little worried that he wouldn't care for it too much, but he dug it, man. He dug it. He enjoyed it. He was there with us, and it was a cool time, man. We really enjoyed it, and we're looking forward to the next one. Actually, I think it's next week. There's one over here in Lake County again, and it's not too far from us. It's like 15 minutes away, but that one is a Latino one. Which they're going to have like a band off where like 4 or 5 bands that they're going to battle each other while there's a rodeo and some other stuff. So I don't know how that's all going to work, but the thought of having like 4 tamborazo bands like going each other, kind of like the DJ off things, I don't know if I would like that. So I don't know if I want to go, but it sounds intriguing. I don't know. I'm still kind of chewing over whether I want to go and check out the Latino flavor of a rodeo.
So let me ask you this then. With the popularity of Yellowstone, do you feel that was a lot of maybe why a lot of people went, or you think because you did say it looked like you saw signs that it was sold out. Do you think the popularity of Yellowstone kind of like help make that happen with the popularity of it? Because Yellowstone is like super popular now, and people, I mean, it's a popular show. I mean, it's shocking how popular it is. And did that kind of influence you, or like you told your wife and your kids like, let's go check it out?
Right. I think it definitely influenced us. My parents are Latino descent. My wife is Latina, but it's not like we were in the know of rodeos. There was a lot of things that I didn't know even about it, even being Latino. And now I have friends that are into stuff like that, and they're probably more in the know, have gone to plenty more rodeos. But I definitely think a show like Yellowstone or stuff like that, it does bring the casual fan and kind of tips them over to go and try to enjoy something like this. So I think stuff like that definitely happens. Now this crowd, it probably would have been packed with or without Yellowstone, because I did see a lot of people that looked the part, like you saw them and they weren't wearing a brand new, trim hat. They were wearing rough cut hats. They were wearing dirty jeans, like they just got out of work stuff. So there was a lot of like ranchers, cowboy guys, guys that are construction workers, but they have that heritage and they like stuff like that. So you saw guys with dirty, cowboy hats, and you could see that they've put miles into it, and it's like they're like true people that are really into this. They're enthusiasts of it, a lot more than what I would say I am. The only probably street cred that I have is that I'm Latino, and it's kind of in our culture kind of thing. But yeah, man, it was cool. I go
You're
ahead.
like, man, I fucking killed pigs, bro. Back the fuck up.
Well, not me personally, but yeah, my dad, my dad. So,
And I cooked it up, and it was good, man.
uh-huh. But no, man, it was a really cool time. I enjoyed it. Hopefully, get to do another one fairly soon, and keep it up. Now it's got my son even peaked to go horseback riding, so that's probably going to be the next little bucket list thing that we want to try to do. Is we're going to try to find a place that we can go horseback riding and go check that out, man.
Nice, man.
Yeah. But Andy, I think I've rambled on enough about this cowboy little thing that we're into here in the Corral household. Why don't we jump over to you and see what the Chinese are up to, man? I hear they're shooting, not shooting, but launching balloons everywhere. Where has the latest one been found, and what are people doing with them?
So I mean, if you've been living under a rock, we all know what's going on with that balloon. From like a week ago, they reported it that there was something flying across the U.S. and they somehow were able to identify it that it was Chinese, and they let it. They took the whole week. They let it do its thing, and then they shot it down over the ocean off the Carolinas, I believe. And Biden got a lot of criticism about the way he handled this, and that with the Hunter laptop and all that, the Chinese people are like speculating. Allegedly he's bought off by the Chinese and all this. But going back to the balloon, I was kind of shocked the way. Yeah, to me personally, I think he handled it wrong. I don't know why he wouldn't shoot it down earlier. And then I think they were able to retrieve pieces of it. He cited the safety, like if they shot it down over land, it could have fallen on people's homes or something like that. Right. And that's one of the things he came out with. And then so I'm thinking like, man, what's going on? And I was kind of, the last time they shot something foreign made over the U.S., I think it was something like World War II, something with the Japanese. So what do you guys think? Like, did he handle that right? Because I think they identified one more down in El Salvador that I believe was the same style, and I think there was one more somewhere, I think in the U.S. I think they kind of identified, or it was another part of the world. Like, you think he handled that right, or what are your thoughts on it? What do you think the balloon's doing?
I mean, it's hard to say exactly what it's doing. There's all this speculation. It could be like what the Chinese said, it's a weather balloon that strayed away all this way, or it could be something spying on us, trying to get our military bases, locations, and strategic infrastructure locations where we have our power grid, centralized and all that shit. And it could be that. It definitely has me worried that he's not going to be the kind of guy to retaliate if it comes down to it. Because I started thinking, like, worst case scenario, like, let's say, they shoot missiles over here and, we get hit. Is he going to immediately retaliate? Or is he going to be like, well, let's see what we can do or whatever? It doesn't seem like he's exactly the best guy for the job, and it's been a long time going that I thought that, but it just makes it seem more likely that he's just going to be passive in his handling of future events if they do happen.
Right. To me, I didn't vote for Biden, but I believe that he did the right thing. I think with something so sensitive, especially with everything going on with Russia, you don't want to be trigger happy and just right away shoot things down. Unless you think it's a threat, like this thing is going to drop a nuke on us kind of thing. Then obviously let's be a little more aggressive. But with it being a balloon, seen as kind of passive. Um, I would gather intelligence and shoot it over when it's not a threat to the public, and then collect any data from it, just like he did. Now, as far as retaliating against missiles, there is an accord that we're signed up to that, regardless of what the reasoning is, if anybody shoots a missile towards the U.S., we automatically have to counter and launch a missile back. It doesn't matter if the president wants to or not. There's some kind of accord. I forget what the name of it is, but it's some document that they signed. That
Is it for nuclear weapons or just regular missile strikes?
yeah. I'm sorry. I should clarify. It's something about nuclear missiles.
Yeah, the nuclear ones is I know. It's automatic retaliation.
It's automatic.
Yeah.
So it's an accord to kind of put it up front and make it known that you might send a nuke over here to try to kill us, but in that second that you sent us, you just sign your death certificate too, because we're going to send one right back. And it's kind of to deter people from shooting nukes at all, because if you, as soon as you shoot that nuke, you got to have some kind of counter action to it, otherwise you're gone too. So as far as the nukes go, it's not up to Biden. It's an accord that they're signed up to, and it's going to happen. But I think he did it right for
it's
Biden.
Up to the deep state. But going back to the balloon, like I think again this week they found something in Alaska. You saw it was shooting like green beams down, like these lasers down on Alaska, and they weren't sure what that was all about. But the Chinese said that. I think the Chinese kind of admitted to them, like, yeah, we did that or something. And I don't know, like, it's just weird how all this is coming about right now. And then the Chinese didn't admit to it. They did say it's a weather balloon. I don't know what they're trying to figure out, but maybe they're testing Biden. I don't know. And it's just leading like. I feel like it's just like we're gonna be reading about this in 20 years. This is like the opening shit about like World War fucking 3 or something. Because I was reading in the last month how China's economy is like really, it's slowing down. They're trying to get a handle on COVID. They have like big time debt, and like people are like protesting, and like they've never really dealt with all this. So someone kind of mentioned like this is they're like saber rattling, like they're trying to make shit happen, like just to say like, look at all this fuck, like we can do all this stuff, like what are you guys gonna do about it? And then meanwhile at home they're having like all these issues with they have like their own mortgage crisis. People were protesting like a month ago, the COVID situation, and then their economy like is stalled right now. The manufacturing side of it, they're really sluggish. They can't seem to get it going like how they used to, and all this stuff is like happening. And the other thing that they're having issues with is they're not having like a lot of kids. I was reading. Like their population it's massive, but to keep all this shit that they're doing going, they're not going to have enough people to keep it going as the years go on, and they kind of know about it, and they're getting they're a little like startled about it, and they're trying to deflect, I guess is what the guy said, which I found kind of weird, but it kind of makes sense, but it doesn't.
Yeah, man. I probably all that is somewhat true. I did hear and read a bunch of that as well, but I don't know how flexing towards the U.S. would make anything any better, realistically. But I do realize as well that a lot of governments do create these like what do they call those? Where it's like a covert, where you're more involved into it, but you kind of make it seem like they attacked you, kind of thing. I forget what they call them. I don't think it's deep state. I think it's some other kind of weird word or whatever. but where you kind of fake like you're being attacked.
Yeah, I
So then
forgot.
that way you could kind of
Alex
defend.
Jones. Yeah.
You could defend that you're retaliating back to them because they were the aggressor. Um, now I could
Covert, like a covert attack, not covert, but they actually like they're saying the U.S. blew up that pipeline near Russia. They were saying it was the Russians. Then they found out it was really the U.S. and like no one's talking about it. And like a covert act or like trying a false flag. There you go.
false flag. There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. False flag.
They did something to try to say like we need to get in there and handle this.
Right. So I could see it being maybe something like that where it's a false flag and they're kind of, trying to push it so that there can be a conflict to kind of bring the conversation away from the inner turmoils that you're having in your country and bring it to something that everybody can rally together for, a greater good kind of thing.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like going back to the balloon, so there was a lot of criticism how Biden handled it leading up to the week. They shot it down over the Atlantic. They retrieved it. They did find there was explosives, and he took all this criticism. He had the State of the Union recently, and then out of the blue, this week, uh, they found didn't call it a balloon. They called it a UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, and it was over Alaska. They said it was small. They shot that thing down. That's one. Then there was one by Montana and Canada. They the Canadian Prime Minister and Biden, NORAD told them like it's going over here. They shut that down. They shot another one down, and then so they did that immediately. I saw a timeline like they knew about it on Thursday. I think they shot it down yesterday. Two of them yesterday. That's like within under 48 hours they shot this down. So I'm thinking like, man, maybe it's some bullshit they're trying to say like Biden is handling shit. And then I heard the press conference and the wording the guy was using, the secretary was saying like we saw it, we don't know what it is. It's smaller than the Chinese balloon. They didn't blame the Chinese, and then he goes, we really didn't know what kind of propulsion it had. There was no one in it, and we're gonna retrieve it. We're in the acts of retrieving it, and then and I was like, and people are like, it's not Chinese. He's like, nah, we don't know if it's a corporation, a state, or private. We don't know any of that yet. And then they shot down one over Canada, and people are they said it's spherical, so it's like a tic tac. And then this morning, I started seeing like pictures, alleged pictures of it. It's like this cylindrical looking thing, the one in Alaska. It's not blown up. It's just like bare, like you could see like it crashed. And I was reading stuff that pilots that were they sent to shoot it down, they were able to get to it they were flying right along against it, and they said it was interfering with some of their sensors and radar stuff, and then they shot it down, and then it was going the same speed as the jet, and then they shot it down. And I think I'm hearing the same reports for the one in Canada. And then this morning I woke up, I was reading that they found another. This time they found another one, but it's not silver; it's black in Vegas. And then there's also reports that there was one similar spotted in China that they told the Chinese officially. They kind of mentioned something on Twitter that their radar picked up one in China. So now everybody and like Twitter and like all the conspiracy people are going like through the fucking roof. Like, what is this? And I don't know if it's like, I don't want to say it's like UFO shit or maybe it's interdimensional. Like, who fucking knows at this point? I think if more countries see it, it's gonna be. I don't know if it's like another false flag or some end of world shit. Like the aliens are coming. I don't know.
Yeah, man, it's kind of crazy times right now, especially like you were saying with China's economy, literally imploding, and then the whole population of their country, or not the whole, but like a vast majority of people
And then
are,
Ukraine and all that's going on over there. It's like they're supposed to
yeah.
have war, dude.
I heard about the potential for Russia to launch a nuke
Yeah.
into Ukraine and the
Hmm.
backlash and like how much it would affect the surrounding areas. And I'm like, man, this is crazy times right now. And then like natural resources are being depleted more and more every year, and it's gonna get crazy, man. Especially people talking about Bank of America defaulting on their debt, the United States, like the debt ceiling and how much money that's owed, how many trillions are owed to other countries, and I think majority of it is to China. It's kind of a crazy time right now that yeah, we have to kind of be on cautious kind of alert here.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like, let's say it's alien or out of this galaxy or whatever, out of this world. I don't even know how. I used to think there'd be like, yeah, there's aliens, but I don't think they would admit to that now. Like, it's so much. We couldn't even agree on like the all the COVID information. I mean, there's always been conspiracy people out there. I mean, but it wasn't always like, and like they've been caught. The government and other people have been caught in so many lies. Like, it's hard to believe anything they fucking say. And even now, like, you used to say, well, if you see video of it, now everybody's like, any fucking video that proves any type of anything, they're like, well, it's fake or it's a deep fake, right? That's the new one, the deep fake. And like, it's hard to, I mean, we're getting so mind fucked. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe anything you see or read now, you know?
Yeah, I think misbelief is running rapid, and I would say, I don't know, for lack of a better word, extremism for either side is definitely a problem. I think people need to really just take a step back and not be so much the aggressor, and not be so much. I grew up in a family with three other brothers, and there was at times some inner, like fight for power, let's say, or fight for what they wanted out of my parents or out of the family dynamic. And, you know, it doesn't need to be an aggressive thing. It could be something where, like, collaboration or kind of working together, or kind of, it never got, fights with like fist fights and stuff like that. You don't really get anything out of that. So I don't understand what everything needs to be amped all the way to 100 right away. I think dialogue and peace, I think ultimately that's what everybody wants, man. Nobody wants to live in a dystopia where shit's all jacked up, where you can't buy anything, where people are starving, where there's no resources. Nobody wants to live like that. So I don't understand why people continue to strive for this power. Be content with everybody being good. You do your thing, and we'll all be happy in the middle. I really don't. I'm having a tougher and tougher time now that I'm getting older, seeing this mentality, and it's just going overboard, and I just can't explain it.
Well, the thing
Then
is, power corrupts, man.
you don't understand the complexities of modern societies. You want to go live in your in your farm, man, and not deal with this. But
I I in church today, it was exactly the message today. It was talking about how the rabbis would, kind of balk at Jesus. It's like, why is Jesus going and eat with the tax collectors and these guys over here? They're like our enemies or whatever. And Jesus is like, we need to bridge these communities together, and we need to talk to all these other sides so that we can all come together and be united. And he's like, what was the thing the pastor was saying? The pastor was saying that he's like, I'm the first one to admit that I always strive for justice and whatever, kind of like an eye for an eye, but or if you did it, you deserve to pay for it, kind of thing. He's just like, but that's not Jesus's. That's not what he wants you. His message. That's not what he wants you to learn. He wants you to learn empathy, and he wants you to learn mercy because that's what he gives all of his people every day. Because nobody's perfect. There's millions of sinners. I'm a sinner, and Jesus forgives me for the things that I do. And that's what he wants me to do to everybody around me. He wants me to forgive all the people that do bad to me. He wants me to forgive everybody that's around me and to have empathy and want to help other people, even though they might be the bad guy. They might be the person that's prosecuting me or bringing harm to me, but he wants me to be empathetical and mercy to people around me. And I think if people carry that more inside of them, it would be a better place. Now, yeah, maybe it sounds tree huggerish or whatever. I'm not saying let's go out and hug a tree or anything like that, but just kind of chill with the power moves, man. Let's like everybody can have a piece of the pie. Everybody can be happy. You just need to take a step back and kind of chill.
I think the problem is that there's people in power that are not of that philosophy, and this isn't something new. This is over 1,000 years in the
Going
making
on
since
for since
Roman
the beginning of
times,
time. Yeah.
Right.
since society was built and people created, I guess, currency and the economy and debts and slavery and ownership and all that, man. It's materialism and like the greed and hunger for more and an endless unfillable void that people try to fill with all sorts of sins and sorts of, bad habits, dude. It's just the way it is. It's good that you have that mentality though, because that's what we need. Is we need more people like that. That way, evil won't win because it doesn't rest. But if good doesn't rest either, then there's like a balance that we can maintain.
With that being said, like and Danny's talking about JC, man, but I do read with the current wave of UFO UAPs. I am a Catholic. I know the Pope said that if an alien would come down, he would like to baptize him. So I'm waiting. Maybe we'll see that in our lifetime. But with that being said, let's go over to Noel. He got some Blu-ray deals online here. I got a good deal yesterday actually on some Blu-rays. What'd you end up buying on this famous auction site? That's where actually I got my deals too. I went to the auction site. What'd you end up buying, Noel?
So yeah, man, I just got into eBay again recently. It's been about almost 8 years since I bought from eBay, and I've been kind of on this like roll, getting a bunch of stuff that some good deals on here. You can get stuff. I didn't know it had evolved to this point because, like I said, it's been like 8 years, and technology has gone obviously really far in those 8 years. So eBay is no longer like how it used to be with just PayPal and just bidding on stuff. You can buy stuff outright. You can get coupon deals from sellers. You
Yeah.
can get like buy two get one free type deals, all sorts of shit. So, um, yeah, I got a bunch of old stuff, stuff that means something to me. It's kind of silly, but like I got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, the 1990, the OG. I always loved the practical effects they used on it, on the original costumes and all that. And I wanted the Blu-ray for a while. I haven't had it, so I got
Man,
that.
I got that when I'm trying to trade it. I got
Yeah,
the
the
three
Blu-ray.
pack, the Blu-ray. Yeah, I
Oh, see, I didn't
traded it
want the
for an
three pack
Xbox
though.
game. Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't want that three pack. I just want the one and two. I didn't like number three. That's why I was like, I don't even want to
gotta be a
have it
completist. Gotta
part.
have everything, man.
Nah, nah. I was thinking of that, man. I'm like, that's a slippery slope where if I start buying every movie I've ever liked, I'm gonna have like a whole fucking library, like a house full of movies. And I don't have that kind of space. So I'm
And
like,
we could only
well,
dream.
Right, dude. While I do love the physical media, like I, now more so than any time before, it's like this physical media, it just looks so good. The last physical media I owned was DVDs. That's the last time I bought physical media, and I kind of went digital since like 2000, like 8 or something like that, or 9. And now that I got a PS5 to play the Blu-rays, 4K, all that stuff, I got back into physical media. I got Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer. I got Batman versus Superman. I got some horror movies, the Nightmare on Elm Street series. I got the Halloween, the reboot trilogy that just finished this last year with Halloween Ends. I got that in 4K. I got Black Adam in 4K. I got a couple M. Night Shyamalan movies in 4K. A couple Jordan Peele movies in 4K. I've been getting just some good stuff, some Lucio Fulci. I'm a horror guy, so it's like I've been like sticking to mainly horror and just the movies that like really mean something to me in general that I grew up really admiring and liking. One of the ones that I actually saw recently it came out in 2010. It's called The Crazies. It was a reboot of the original movie that came out in the 70s. The original one was George Romero's work, and then The Crazies in 2010 was just like a kind of a refresher of that movie. And I've seen both. I own both now, but I watched the 2010 just yesterday, and man, it's a good movie that like I could see that it inspired like a lot of future works because like this is back in the 70s, right? So this is before Resident Evil, but Resident Evil has like these vibes to it. 28 Days Later has these vibes to it. Even The Last of Us. Watching The Last of Us recently and then watching this movie Crazies, I'm like, there's a lot of similarities about the stuff that's going on. And for those that haven't seen the movie, have you guys seen Crazies?
I have
Mm,
not.
No, I don't think I've
Uh,
seen that one. Yeah.
oh man, you guys definitely check it out. It's a really good horror movie. Essentially, just a kind of really quick 1 minute recap. There is a plane, a government plane that's carrying some secret COVID type fucking virus that they manufactured in a lab. It goes down in the middle of a swamp or like a river in this like random area, farmland, rural area, and it pollutes the water system so that people that drink tap water would drink this contaminated water that essentially makes them go crazy and makes them like murderous,
Oh.
and they become infected and their eyes start to like get all like bloodshot and like just really fucking crazy looking, and they just go crazy, but they still have intelligence, so they will hunt you down with knives, with guns, whatever. Their goal is to kill you. And the start of the movie is this guy, like he kills his family, sets his house on fire. It's insane. It's like really like just tense, like a really tense movie. It's got a few familiar actors in it. It's got the girl from Pitch Black. It's got the girl from Silent Hill. She was in that as well. Like I can't remember the actress's name. It's blanking on me, but it's got a few familiar actors in it, and ultimately, it's worth a watch. What I liked about it, I think, was too that the government's reaction to it was not to like tell the people like, hey, this is going on, be aware, be cautious. It was to literally quarantine and wipe that town out of existence. Internet was shut off, phones were shut off, you know, access to leaving the place was shut off. Everybody rounded people up like FEMA, took them to camps and slaughtered them all. And it's insane. I mean, I'm sorry for the spoilers, but like this is an old movie, so I mean, what can you do, right? It's 13 years older at this point. So,
It was like a straight to video movie or
no, no, I
DVD, or
think it
did it
did
come
come
out in
out
the
in.
theater?
I think it came out in theaters, but I mean, 13 years ago, it's hard to remember. But I'm fairly certain it came out in theaters. This had a motion picture budget. Like it was well done. It was not by any means like a B movie. There are a lot of horror movies that are fall in that category, but no, this was actually like professionally done, good cinematography. it has like some really cool scenes in it where it's just the tension that it builds, knowing that your death is coming at the hands of these like just pretty much just murderous, ravenous people, and it's just the town becomes crazy, right? And so The Last of Us has these vibes as well, and I was really connecting with it. I do recommend people to check it out. The 1974 one is also really good, the George Romero one. It's especially it has that 70s feel to it, so I recommend watching both of those if you ever get a chance.
Yeah, it
And
was released to theater with a $20 million budget. It grossed 55 mil. This is in
yeah,
2010.
Yeah,
there
it's
you
funny
go.
when you were describing it, it sounds just like Last of Us because with the TV show we've been finding out a lot more details that maybe the game didn't really say, and one of them was like that where they would just gather you around and just shoot you, man, and it's like crazy.
Yeah, no, literally at one point in the movie, the crazies at the end, they're trying to escape, right? The whole movie centers around the sheriff of the town and his wife and his deputy and a few, small little crew. They're trying to escape the town. But literally they're getting hunted down by the government or they're getting hunted down by crazy people. So there's enemies all around and it's really hard to trust anybody and you don't even know if you're sick yet. Like it takes 48 hours to get sick. So any one of the people in your crew could be sick and it's one of those things. It's like the tension builds, and at one point they discover that yeah, the government rounded up people, murdered them all, and burned them, and like cremated them essentially. And it's crazy to think like it builds on the fact that like this is like on a somewhat level kind of plausible. Like I could see that happening. You know what I mean? Like if
Right.
this something like this happened, I could see the government doing some shit like that. And that's what's more scary about it. That's what makes me like immerse myself in that movie even more. But yeah, kind of moving on to another thing I've been immersing myself in is this new ghost hunting game, sticking on the genre of horror. It's called Phasmophobia. It's an older game in terms of like it's not the last year. I think it's like 2 3 years ago it came out. Um, but it's been like just it hasn't stopped growing in popularity. It's still a trendy game. People still love playing it, and there's getting updates consistently. And have you guys ever heard of this game, Phasmophobia?
I haven't.
No, what console is this on, or what kind of game is it?
So I believe it's on PC. I don't know if it's on actual consoles.
Okay.
Um, it might be, but it's one of those indie developed games. It's initially on early access. I think it actually might still be on early access, meaning like it's not like one of those games that's like completed. They're consistently like changing, updating shit. But essentially you're a ghost hunter. Your job is to prove and find evidence of ghosts in various locations. And throughout the course of your investigations, you can earn money by providing this evidence, taking photos, um, finding evidence of like the ghost's presence there. And as you gain all this money you can buy more equipment that's more sophisticated. So for example, you can get a spirit box. The spirit box is the one that goes through the different frequencies so that allows to the ghost to communicate with you and it'll say certain words as it scrolls through all these different frequencies. So you can use a spirit box or you can use this thing called dots that it's like kind of like the Xbox Connect had that like it's like a green like dots. It's like a field of like dots that like show up pulsing green. If the ghost travels through it, you can see their outline and their shape with it. There's other things that you can use, like you can use a Ouija board. You can use this like mirror that shows you where the ghost room is. You can use the EMF detector, which is like old school. It's to detect any electromagnetic frequencies. You can use a parabolic mic, which is like one of those mics that like PIs use to like hear what's going on, like between like multiple different like walls. like in another room, like fucking far away. So you can use that to pick up any subtle sounds that are happening within the house that you're investigating. And ultimately, there's some objectives that they'll give you, and the what makes the game great is that the ghost that you're investigating will actually be able to kill you. It's not like you're just wasting your time trying to get evidence and then nothing happens to you. There is some risk to get the reward. There is some risk. So you go in there, and the ghost will do these ghost events, they call them. And the ghost can either communicate with you or show itself, or maybe throw some objects like a poltergeist, or maybe slam a door. And then on the most risky one is they'll actually hunt you and try to kill you. And so you have to either run around or try to hide somewhere so it's not in the line of sight. Otherwise, if it sees you and it comes to you, and even if it touches you for just a fraction of a second, it will like essentially suck out your life or snap your neck or whatever, and you die, and then you lose that mission, right? But this game has been growing on people. There's a bunch of YouTubers that play it. I was told about this game by my cousin, and he knows I'm a fan of horror stuff. So I just wanted to bring it up. It's a cool game. I think it's like $14 or something like that. So I do recommend for people that are interested, try it out.
Yeah,
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
I'm seeing some screen captures here, and yeah, it looks kind of like weird and scary. I see a bunch of streamers got videos posted, so it does look like it's popular for sure.
Yeah, and the thing is, it gets you to, like, I don't know, for people that are into all that and like folklore and all that stuff, it gets you to like know more about it because you have like a journal with you that you can like take notes, and you can like rule out certain things. So if there's like freezing temperatures, it's like, oh well, only a certain amount of different demons or spirits can do this, like a revenant or a mare or a yokai or a yurei or a Anrio. There's like so many different like labels to these entities that you have to like narrow it down based on what the evidence that you get. And so there is like some kind of like detectiveness to it, right? Where it does take some strategy and some like way of getting all this information and narrowing it down, making the right choice before you end up getting killed by it. But yeah, that's just one of those games I've been playing recently. Um, really, that's pretty much all I really had to say about that.
Yeah, those scary games, man. I think YouTubers they're enamored by it because I know Junior for a while he was stuck on Five Nights at Freddy, and then there was just like a bunch of like scary jump scares. I think people like that, and to be honest, I think this might be like the first year that Junior might be cool going to like a haunted house because I think for the years that he's been kind of exposed to stuff like this, he's kind of gotten to the point where he's cool knowing that this is make believe and then this over here on this side is real. So I'm kind of excited that maybe in a good or a bad way, I don't really know, but that all these horror stuff that he's been into, or at least the scary fright scare stuff, that it's kind of desensitized them to the point where I could enjoy a haunted house with them, man, because I love that stuff. I think that's cool stuff to go to.
100% agree, man. I grew up with that stuff, thanks to you guys, because you
Right.
so on effort and exposed me to all these horror movies at a young age, and I'm grateful for it because ultimately I'd rather see all this scary stuff in a creative, fictional way than have to see it on the news or in real life. So yeah, I can appreciate a horror movie and being able to get scared or whatever, jump scared for that 2 hours or hour and a half than to have to see something in real life that sticks with you.
Yeah,
No, yeah, for sure.
going back to that YouTube, I prefer to watch like the ghost hunting, like you said the spirit box and all that, and all those other tools. I do watch a lot of ghost hunting videos on YouTube, or videos where they capture entities and noises. I prefer to watch that than like play the game or watch a movie about it or anything like that. Like, um, the Paranormal Activity movies and like even those Conjuring movies. Like I wasn't like, I mean, they're all right, but I'm not like, I'll watch them once and I'm good. But I can watch ghost hunting videos like 24/7. I try not to watch them around my son, but yeah, I can watch those religiously, you know.
For sure.
Yeah, there's some good ones that they stick to like the real part of it.
Right.
There's also some that like kind of embellish a
They're
little bit and add
bullshit.
a little
Yeah.
flair. Have you ever heard of Mind Seed?
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of embellish a little bit and add some stuff to it.
Right. That's how I said, like, there's some where it's like, like whatever. And then there's some like, damn, this is some real shit here. But you know, it is what it is. But we got to wrap it up, everybody. It's Super Bowl Sunday here. We want to thank you to listen. Remember, you can follow Freeform Network on Twitter at Freeform Network. Also, send your questions and suggestions to ffnquestions@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out our webpage, freeformnetwork.podbean.com. There, all our links are to every platform imaginable. However, you consume our podcast on whatever platform, like, subscribe, comment. That helps us out a lot. For Freeform Radio, we got Danny.
Yes, sir. Hey, Andy, just so we can get it in recording here, who you picking for the Super Bowl so I can laugh at you next recording that you got it wrong.
As much I like the Eagles by 3 points, because I hate Mahomes. So I want the Eagles to win.
Nice. I think the Eagles are going to pull this one off, but it'll be a good game. Everybody out there, enjoy your Super Bowl, man.
And then we got Noel.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening. Be safe out there while you're celebrating the Super Bowl. If you're voting for the Philly or the Eagles, I'm sure they're probably going to get the win, but we'll see.
And it's all good, Andy. We want to thank you for listening. Let us know you got any stories on ghost hunting, or what do you guys think about the UAPs or the balloons or rodeos at ffnquestions@gmail.com. And thank you for listening. We'll get you guys next time.
That was cool, Dad.